The opinions expressed in the following program are those of the producer and not necessarily those of WKTV Community Media.
Hello, West Michigan. This is Grand Tap Media Business TV. My name is Pamela Keim, your host. The spirit of the show is to introduce West Michigan to all the businesses, nonprofits, individuals that can help us thrive in our lives, in our business. And we have a very special guest all the way from California, which we know there's a lot going on there, and we're going to have to get the feedback on that one. But he is a best-selling author. He is an international success in helping businesses thrive. He has started up billion-dollar businesses, and I'm not even going to go into all of them. But he has a new book called out, Future Proofing You, and maybe some of you have already read it. I know I have listened to it on audio, and I can't wait to get the book to be able to go over it again because it had so many details. But he is here today to help West Michigan thrive, and I will share a lot more of his accolades. But I want to welcome to Grand Tap Media Business TV in West Michigan, Jay Samit. Thank you so much for being here, Jay.
Pleasure, Pamela.
You're a natural at seeing the future, innovation. I mean,
No.
it seems like it comes natural to you, and some of us they're looking and they just feel like they're spinning. They don't know.
The best way to predict the future is to hang out with the people that are coding it. So who in your peer group, who on your Facebook, who are you getting insights from? Are you spending time with people that are unsuccessful? Most likely you will be unsuccessful too. So there are endless opportunities, and I talk about that no one should try to do this alone. Don't fly solo is one of the 12 truths. I worked with Reid Hoffman to start a startup called LinkedIn. You can use that tool to find mentors that can help you through each stage of your growth. So you want a media company, what successful media executives are mentors for you? Why have you not reached out? Why have you not built those relationships? Why have you not learned from the mistakes and lessons that they've been through so that you don't have to repeat the same mistakes?
Yeah. True.
And so when you realize that there's abundance out there, you'll realize that people want to help you. It's not that zero-sum game of the banana example. It's not that there's only so much money, and if you get it, I don't get it. That's the mentality that causes the problems in this country. Immigrants are taking our jobs. Robots are taking jobs. Somebody's taking. No. There is endless opportunity. That's why I chose an immigrant in my experiment. 1 out of 3 Fortune 500 companies were created by someone brand new to our shores with no capital, no background, but they had a purpose. They were using their persistence to pull themselves forward.
How do you see, there are some people of your level are saying that, I'm just going to ask you, that America's done. We just don't know it yet. And what are you seeing on that opportunity? I hope it's not true, but when I'm listening to them saying, are we in denial? And I don't want to believe that we're done.
Well, unless you believe the future's already written, the future's what you want to make it to be. So you can change lives, you can make any difference that you want. What I do see is there are others that are now hungering for the knowledge that we have at our fingertips and we take for granted. And so when my book became #1 in Vietnam and came out in Lithuanian and it's coming out in Urdu, what it's telling me is that there's people all over the world seeking that American dream. And since we're all interconnected, you don't have any advantage. The only advantage America has, we don't have the best educational system, everybody has access to capital, everybody has access to technology, is we have less of a fear of failure than most cultures. Our cultural icons were Lucille Ball or Homer Simpson. They get a get-rich-quick scheme, it blow up in their face, and then life goes on. So we have no shame in trying. I've raised hundreds of millions of dollars for startups, and I will tell you that every VC would rather back somebody who's failed than somebody who was their first time out. So culturally, America still has that huge advantage over everybody else. But opportunity is not distributed equally. You have to seek it, and it's harder for some people to seek it than others. But it's within the reach of every human being. I've seen it. I've been all over the world. I've run companies all over the world. I've had hundreds of thousands of employees, and I see no differences. And post-pandemic, we now realize you can live in anywhere and build a global company because you can have remote workers, and that's a new superpower available to every entrepreneur.
All right. Okay, let's talk the parents. I want to talk about parenting, because I grew up in a generation where I wanted my kids to have more than I did, have opportunities. So I sent them to, they had good schools, charmed neighborhood. Here we are in West Michigan. They went to college, and we helped pay for some of that. They had to work, but everywhere. And Jay, what I noticed in some of these kids, they have so much opportunity. They had the music, they had everything that I felt like we didn't have. They're not any happier.
Well, not to criticize specific parenting, but what you said is you wanted them to have what you didn't have.
Right.
What a parent should want is their children to know what they didn't know.
That's a good way of putting it. Yes.
What learning? I never asked my children, what do you want to be when you grow up? I asked them, what problem do you want to solve when you grow up? At every age, we will see things that are unjust, unmet, unfinished. And it's our job during our lifetime to try to finish them, to try to make the world a better place. And again, solving for others will bring that happiness. I know miserable billionaires. I know a billionaire associate who killed himself. I mean, and anybody that's struggling to pay their bills cannot imagine how that's possible. So wealth doesn't bring happiness. It, in most cases, gets rid of misery, but it is making that impact. The man Molly, who I wrote about at the end of the book, who I was so humbled by meeting. Imagine being successful, making millions of dollars, having your kids and your family, your kids go on ski trips and everything. He grew up as an orphan in Africa. And one day he sees an orphan in the street just like him. And he takes that kid and his two friends home and tells his wife, we now have 3 more kids. And she gave him a look that says, okay, I want to kill you, but okay. And then he kept on doing this 22,000 times. He spent his entire fortune building dormitories and everything. He raised them all as his own. He had to figure out how to grow food, how to educate, how to do it. 22,000 kids who went on to become teachers and doctors and engineers and transform his nation. So it's what you want to achieve. And once you believe that you are unstoppable, once you look at every hurdle as just part of the game. When you sit down and play a video game, have you ever sat down and you go from sitting down to finishing it? No. You hit some challenge that you just can't get past that obstacle, and you hammer at it. And then when you finally get past it, guess what? There's another obstacle. That's what life is. That's what a career is. That's what building a business is. And if you put together the right team, if you find the right mentors, you can make yourself future-proof no matter what happens to governments or economies or anything else. There's always opportunity.
I know I would give this to my children to read, but is somebody of my age, if they picked up this book, I mean, I'm in my late 50s, could they still have a chance to become a millionaire?
So Sam Walton, ever hear of Sam Walton, Walmart?
Just a little, yes.
Okay. He started his first little store at age 44. Colonel Sanders sold his first secret Kentucky Fried Chicken recipe at 67. He was living on $100 a month welfare, Social Security check at the time. So age isn't a factor. I had a partner who was 94 years old on a TV show that we sold. And I was just in awe of the energy that he looked at each day. And, I would rather wear out than rust. So nothing's stopping you.
Now, I want to get a couple more things before we have to go. Share with us tell us a little bit about spatial reality. You
Sure.
share that
So
in the book, and it's $1 trillion opportunity business out there.
yeah. So you may know it as augmented reality. It's instead of looking at your phone, you're going to be getting all your information on the lenses of your glasses or of your contacts. So you're going to have heads-up display. So where did I park my car at the mall? You'll see a line on the ground, and you'll just follow it. How do I get to such and such? You can follow that. You go in a supermarket, the doctor tells you you can't have you've got diabetes, you can't have anything with sugar. You say, show me the foods with no sugar, and everything else will disappear. So we'll be overlaying reality with graphics, just as we have the online today. So what opportunities does that develop? You don't have to make those glasses. The big guys are all coming out with them. One of my clients, Microsoft has contact lenses. But now what problems will this solve? If you think 10 years ago when the iPhone came out, let me tell you 2 of the top 10 best-selling apps that year. A fart app that just made fart sounds, okay? And a game with cats, which is another way of saying nobody thought of Uber and OpenTable and all the thousands of app-based businesses. So the big guys are making the infrastructure, the 5G networks, the glasses, the hardware, and all of that. You just have to come up with one app that makes life easier.
One app that makes life easier. At that one. Yes.
That's it.
That's it.
And if you're looking at me right now, I'll never buy those glasses. I just don't see that. In 2020, in the US, 80 million pairs of glasses were sold for more than $150 that came with one app. And it's the app that you have right now, Focus. You didn't want to wear glasses, but if you want to be able to read, you got glasses.
Right.
Another 50 million came with an app called Sun. Makes it a lot easier to watch the ball game or drive down the highway if you have sunglasses on. So we already buy glasses with one app. So now that you can have glasses that have endless apps, it becomes the norm. So why wouldn't you jump into something new? The easiest, I hate competition. I'm competitive, but I hate competition. On any given day, and anything I want to do, there's somebody smarter, better connected, wealthier, better looking. I just hate that guy, okay? So I've always figured out, why not go where no one is yet? Why not fill a void? And if you're the only one doing it, by definition, you're the best. And on that point, if people are serious about changing their lives, at my website, I have free workbooks for both future-proofing you and disrupt you. It's my name, Jay Samit, Jaysamit. I'm not selling anything. There's no upsell. You just click and you can start changing your life today. I'm in it for the selfish reason that I want to see democracy thrive. And I'd like to see more people solving more problems. Because who are you solving them for? You're solving them for me and everybody else.
Yeah, and in one of your quotes, talk about a little bit about, you say that passion makes you unstoppable. You can't fake passion. How do you, a lot of us are passionate about what we do, but, how do you know if they're faking it? Does that make sense? When you say that, I was wondering, people say I'm passionate, and I'm a passionate person, not passion, I'm passionate what I do. But how do you know if they're faking it when somebody...
Well, you know whether something is core to your being. It's something that you really want to do. Anybody can come up with a new shoe, can sell shoes, can have a shoe company. But when Tom Shoes said, for every pair that I sell, someone that's never had shoes will get a pair.
Okay.
His passion was solving poverty. Shoes were a vehicle towards that. So again, the passion is, what are you solving? Who are you helping? If you're just focused on helping yourself, you will get nowhere.
On your book, okay, because we have about 5 minutes left, but on this book, when people see it buy it, or take, I did audio and it was amazing. I'm going to have to buy to even some of the things that you recommend on getting money and all the new apps out. Like I said, I probably shared stuff with you, or like there's an app for that. I can't keep up on how quickly things are happening in the world. But what would be, if there's an entrepreneur today, what will they get in a nutshell from this book when they buy it, if they're looking to become a millionaire?
So what you'll get is what I think are 12 essential truths of how business operates in a post-pandemic world. You'll see and hopefully be motivated by the success of others and hopefully change your thinking. You've heard the book, you've been through the book. There's nothing in here that's outside of reach or comprehension. This isn't Pythagorean theorem. This is common sense that for some reason we don't teach people. You know, we spend time in high school teaching everybody trigonometry because that's so helpful during trigonometry season. Yet we don't teach people how to live a life of success and prosperity.
Time management, before you leave, is a huge on all of us. We all have this dread by the end of the day, how we spent our day. You talked about like when you have a team of people that are now virtual, something about a morning scrub, getting together and just how can we help? The question goes as, what do I need help with today? Can you share a little bit to help some of us that deal with time management?
Sure. So I've run companies like Sony and giant companies where you sit in these meetings where everybody just basically gives a progress report and here's what I did and just a complete time suck. Anybody that works at big companies is used to that. The better way to run a meeting is everybody go around and just say what they need help on today, where they don't have the resources, the knowledge, where they hit an obstacle that help, because that's the purpose of interaction. So engineers do that in what's called a scrub, a stand-up. Another great approach to do, and I do this with one of the companies I'm on the board of, is we start every meeting with 5 minutes of share good news. It could be in your personal life, it could be anything, just to get everybody in the mindset of the good stuff in life, because you're going to go into the hard, here's the hassles, here's the problems. When I was a CEO of a NASDAQ company, my inbox was just, I hate you, here's a problem, we're suing, every day you wake up to, you don't know what problem is going to be at the top of the pile. The most rewarding thing in my life has been writing Disrupt You and Future-Proofing You, because I've heard from people in 140 countries thanking me for changing their lives. I didn't do the work, they did the work, they changed their lives. I just helped show them the way. And that's what pushes me forward to take whatever time I have left on this planet to teach people how they can have a happier, more fulfilled, more successful life for them and their families.
All right, so he's having a media company and doing interviews now virtually, which has given me the opportunity to you. Where do you see media company, and what advice would you give somebody if you were looking across somebody like me or sitting next to me on the plane, and I would ask you, how can I scale more on what? On your podcast? You've been on many.
So what it really comes down to is, how do you find a niche audience that you can create media for and monetize it?
Give me an example. What do you mean by niche? Just authors? Is that like narrowing it down, or what did you mean by that? If you had I'm being facetious here, but if you had a podcast that told, fishermen exactly the coordinates each day to take their ships and that they'd get fish, every fisherman would pay to listen to that channel. Okay.
So it's not about a topic. That's I'm going to get a job and I'm going to do a show and somebody else is figuring out how to monetize and somebody else is figuring out the business. That's just an entertainer. If you're trying to become a media company, why is your media valuable, and to who? Who is willing to pay for that, or who is willing to pay to advertise to get to that specific audience? And that's the genesis of media companies in the 21st century.
Yeah, because they're all changing, and podcasts has pretty much taken over a lot of.
When Amazon greenlights a new show for Prime, they're not trying to get ratings. They're not trying to get the most viewers. They're trying to say, what piece of content can we create that will attract somebody that is not an Amazon Prime customer to sign up for Amazon?
Right.
So they're going one niche at a time till they can get everybody buying from Amazon.
Very nice. All right, so how do they get the book, and how can they reach you if they have any questions? And will you come back in the future?
So you can get my first book, Disrupt You and Future Proofing You, anywhere, Amazon, Audible, if you like audiobooks. The first book's now in 12 languages, and I'm all over. You know, you can find me on LinkedIn, you find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, you name it. And I love hearing people's journeys. So I thank you for your time today. And
yeah. And can you
wish
give me one thing,
continued
what you think
success.
the future is going to be? Something positive that you see coming. Is our currency going to be changing real quickly, or do you think we should be looking to that too? Everybody's into Bitcoin.
So I started in Bitcoin when it was at $10.
Right.
We printed $4 trillion of paper money over the past 2 years. So your money is getting worthless. And that's what's driving it. It doesn't mean Bitcoin is the solution. It just means fiat currency is no longer something that will be of value over time. But the biggest positive is solar now is so much cheaper than other forms that we're going to have an abundance of free energy. Right now, buildings consume 40% of all energy. With solar windows and solar paint, every building will now be giving off more energy than it consumes. So that suddenly lifts tons of people out of poverty. We still have 2 billion people that don't have consistent access to clean water. So the progress we're making globally on health, on the basic needs for everybody is astounding.
Wow. Well, thank you for that. All right, we want to thank Jay Samit for being here today. Buy your book, Future Proofing You. I've read it. It's amazing. And then look him up on social media if you have any questions. But we want to wish you, and we want to thank you so much. We want to wish you all the success on your book, and we want to thank you for being here. And we hope you're going to be able to come back and be interviewed again, because I wanted to ask you so many more questions when the hour went by so quickly.
Thanks for having me, Pamela.
All right, have a great day.
The opinions expressed in the following program are those of the producer and not necessarily those of WKTV Community Media.